Hey, Tom, how are you? Great. Thank you very much for taking the time to meet with me today. I am beyond ecstatic to meet with you and show you what we are doing in partnership with Citi, but more importantly, working with some of the major businesses in the community. We're working with Bob Enright over at Bonadeo Group. We're working with QES Solutions, Radic Electric, and all those guys have their roots in the community just like you and just like our company. We've been around for 31 years. If I did my homework on you, you guys have been around for 25, right, Tom? That's exactly why I'm here to show you what we are putting together for businesses in the Rochester area. Because you know what? For 25 years, you've done a super job. Just like we think we've done a super job with our employees, with our clients, and with our customer service. And we know our product line is great. But one of the problems we have, and really recently, has gotten harder and harder to find answers for, and it's probably the same for you, just like it was for Bob Enright over at Bonadeo Group, is recruiting. Recruiting these days is probably the toughest puzzle to solve. And because there's so many factors going up against us these days that we didn't have 4 or 5 years ago, where we used to get a resume, we'd call them in, we'd interview them, and boom, we would hire them. We always joke around saying, man, if we had 20 Mark Taters in our company, we would be killing it right now. If we could find those 20 people. And you probably have those same employees, right? That if you had 20 of them, you'd be killing it even more than you are right now. But really, there's been something that's disrupted the way people search for their jobs or for potential jobs, what they're looking for, how they're looking for it. And it's helped businesses, but it's disrupted businesses, and that's the internet. And I'm sure you'd agree with that, because nowadays, perfect candidates for us are the 25 to 35-year-old kids, what I call kids because I'm an old guy, but those kids that we want, that are prime candidates for positions that we need help with in our company. And I'm sure you're in the same boat. And what we found out is the way people look for jobs these days have changed, where they're doing a lot more research. They're jumping online. They're finding out things. And I used to joke, and what I told my CEO was, it's like Dentyne. When I grew up, we had Dentyne. Remember the gum? 4 out of 5 dentists recommend Dentyne. Remember that saying? Nowadays, when you say that to somebody, they don't care about what the 4 dentists who recommend it said. They care about that one dentist that doesn't recommend it. What's he saying? That's what people are looking for right now when it comes to everything. What's the negative about everything? Just like with our company, we have people that we're hoping we can get, but they find some crazy, ridiculous stuff online about why you shouldn't work at CGI Communications. Those disgruntled employees. And the worst part is they're voicing their opinions online, but they're nameless and faceless. They're writing reviews, and they're not even associated their name to them. And you know what I'm talking about, the different sites you can go to. And that's where we get frustrated. We get frustrated because, and I'll tell you real quick, we had one person, we thought we left on great terms. She did a great job for us. We gave her a $1,000 bonus when she left. And guess what she did? She posted a bad review on us saying she was promised a $1,000 bonus, but in reality only got $700. We can't do anything about taxes, can you? You have to have it taxed. That's how ridiculous things have gotten these days. And that's where we had to decide as a company, because we're never going to showcase our products or what we do unless it works for us. If it works for us, we know it's going to work for somebody else. And what I mean by that is we were so frustrated with what's going on online and how people are viewing our company. We got together as a leadership group and we decided, what are we going to do about it? And we got angry. We got pissed off about it. But you know what? After a few hours, we finally came to the realization there's nothing we can do about it. It's going to be there and it's going to stay there. And we have to accept it. But you know what we can do? We can retaliate and we can combat it. And that's what we had to think of. How can we do that? How can our company do that? What we had to do is think about, what do we have at CGI? Because we went from 30 employees to 300 employees, and we're shooting to go to 600 employees over the next 2 years. How can we do that unless we get those quality people? We sat there and we pounded our heads against the table saying, how can we do it? What do we have right now? And you know what we have, Tom, just like you have? You have great employees who are raving fans of the company, people who've been here for a year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Me at CGI for 25 years. Those are the type of people we had in the company, and I'm sure you have those people too, right? Of course you do. So we had to decide, how can we bring those people to the forefront, take them from behind the curtain and put them in front of the curtain? And you know what? After about a full day of thinking about it, strategizing, brainstorming. We don't think we came up with the perfect scenario. We know we came up with the perfect scenario. And let me tell you what I mean by that, because if I can do this, Tom, and you know what, Tom, I'm not going to ask you, I'm going to ask you, Drew, because you're the head recruiter here for your company. If I can create that perfect scenario for you, and you'd agree with it, Tom, would that be something you would be interested in for your company, and how we have the solution to solve that problem about recruiting today? Would you be interested? Great. Let me tell you what we came up with. Because you know what? Recruiting is difficult. You'd agree with that, Drew, right? You want that perfect candidate. And let's say you finally got somebody in your office, and they're that perfect candidate, right? And you're sitting there and you're talking to them, and mentally you're checking off all the boxes in your head. Got that, got that, got that, got that. You know what? I got to call up Tom. I got to get my CEO in here. This guy is great. I want this guy. And I know Tom's going to want this guy. So you call up Tom and you say, Tom, I apologize. Got to get a drink of water real quick. I got dry mouth. You come up and you say, Tom, I got this guy. Do you have 5 minutes you could talk to him? You being the CEO with a candidate that you want, what are you going to do? You're going to put your CEO duties aside and you're going to do your interview and you're going to talk to the guy, right? Because that's what you do. And I know my CEO would, when I told him this, it looked like he was going to kill me. But then he laughed and he said, you're right. CEOs do everything and they also do nothing. And I don't know if you agree with that, but I'm thinking in the back of your head, you're going to smile and say, you're right. We do everything all the time and we do nothing some of the time. And when you're sitting down and you're in front of this guy and you're sitting there and you're talking to him, he's talking back, you guys are having a great conversation and you're thinking, wow, this guy reminds me a lot of one of our top sales execs. Man, we got to get this guy. But you know what? Your CEO duties come in. You get a phone call. You know it's an important client that is calling you back. What are you going to do? If you're like me, I get those phone calls too, being the president of the company. I'm going to excuse myself from my interview. I'm going to say, I'm going to be back in about 3 minutes. I got to put you on hold. I got to take this call. But you know what? Here's what happens. Your top sales exec comes walking by, and he's waving to you, and you're waving him in right now and saying, Pete, you got to come in here. Come in here for a second. Pete's 31. That interview guy that's interviewing, apologize, is 28. They're very similar to each other. You're ecstatic that Pete walked by because you know what? Those two can relate to each other. So while you excuse yourself, you sit there going, Pete, this is Tom. Sit down, talk to Tom, see what's going on, tell him about what you do. So all of a sudden you go outside and you're looking through the glass door and they're having a conversation. And you know what? You're almost not listening to your phone. You're listening to what they're saying. And that guy is asking Pete questions. What's the work-life balance like? What's vacation pay like? Do they pay bonuses on top of commissions? All those questions that guy's too afraid to ask you. Because you know what? They don't want to seem like they're asking too many questions or they're not happy. They're asking you typical standard questions. Is there room for advancement in this company? I'm 100% people person. But you know what? Because they can relate to Pete, that guy is asking Pete those questions and they're spitballing back and forth. And you know what? When I said that to Bob Enright, he sort of smiled and he laughed and he said, this is the perfect scenario. And when you get done with your phone call, what Bob said was, you know what? If they're still talking, I'm pretending I'm still talking on my phone and I'm giving them 2 or 3 more minutes for them to ask more and more questions. And when I said that to Bob Enright, he said, you got me. That is the perfect scenario. Because when people can relate to other people and they have common interests, that hits home so much more than me, a 49-year-old guy, talking to a 28-year-old guy about how great the company is. Of course I'm going to tell them how great the company is. I have a vested interest in this company. It's like going to a movie, you know? Somebody walks out of a movie, they're 28 years old, you're 49 years old, they say that movie was awful, it was terrible. I'm not taking that kid's opinion. Kid's got tattoos all over his place. He's got long hair. I'm jealous. I have no hair. He's got long hair. I'm not taking his opinion because you know what? I don't want his opinion. I can't relate to him. And that's what we have created for businesses like yours, like Bob Enright, like Bob Bartolotto. And that's what we want to showcase to you. Now, obviously, Tom, would you agree, and Drew, would you agree that scenario is the perfect scenario when it comes to recruiting? Awesome. Let me show you what we actually created. Because when people are looking for careers and they're looking for places to work, for example, I'll use Bob Enright, all right, at Bonadeo Group. He's looking for accountants. They're always recruiting. And you know Bonadeo Group, not only are they one of the largest and most reputable firms in Rochester, but all of New York and in the country. And I'm going to show you something he wrote in a little while, how ecstatic he is about what we've done for him. And what I mean by that is people are jumping online and they're looking for things. Let's say you have a 40-year-old guy who doesn't like the accounting firm he's working in right now. And he's thinking, man, I got to get out of this place. I hate it. I just don't like it. But I want to stay in accounting. So what's he doing? He's jumping online and, he may have heard of the Bonadeo Group. So he's jumping online and going to careers at Bonadeo Group. And right when he gets to careers at Bonadeo Group, here comes Bonadeo Group's website. And out of all the results that came in, obviously you'd agree you're going to click on that website to find out information about their careers, right? Of course you are. So let's do that right now. And what you're going to see come up are two things. You're going to see right here, look at our jobs, and then on the right-hand side, you're going to see what our people are saying. Now, as a person in this day and age, in 2019, are you going to sit there and take a look at job descriptions, which you already know what accounting takes and the position you're looking for, or are you going to take a look at what people have said? And this is the best part about the program, and I'm going to show you it in a second. But people are expecting what when they see people on there? They're going to expect a picture and text, right? It's what most websites have. Businesses do not have a differentiator right now from other businesses like them. So I want to show you something that's really pretty cool. And it's really, in my opinion, why I love what I do and why our company is where it is right now. And why our company, in a matter of 2 years, will be at 600 employees, double of what we have right now. This is what we've created for Bonadeo Group, for us, for QES Solutions, Radic Electric, all those guys, Novum Group. We're just starting it, but we're having our raving fans, which are those clients right now, speaking volumes for us. You're going to come up right there, our videos we created, answering questions that real people have about opportunities inside your company. Real questions. Now, we're going to help you with those questions. So we'll help you script them. But the one thing we won't do, and we will never do, is we will not script the answers. We want real people with real answers, and the best part is with real emotions. If I can say emotions, I'll say emotions. Emotions. Showing people what they think about the company. Because I'm going to talk great, you're going to talk great being the CEO. Drew, your HR guy, is going to talk great about the company, but when you have your employees, I'm going to tell you a few stories in a second, talking about how great you are, but more importantly, answering questions that potential candidates have about real life experiences in your company. That's a game changer for everybody. And that's why we're excited about it. For instance, you see right here where it says there's a little thing called Likey on here. And I'm going to show you that, but I'm not going to really get into that because you know what? People are going to use that once in a while, but not very often. Likey, you can separate what you're actually looking for, and you can build your profile. Excuse me again. And what I mean by that is you can click on here, and you can actually say you're a 35-year-old male that has kids. And right there you can ask questions, anything and everything, and through our AI, we're going to be able to decipher and find the videos that we've created to answer those questions that those potential candidates have. And what I mean by that is, check this out. I'm going to ask Likey right here because I'm going to click on the little microphone. I'm going to ask him about my kids' soccer games. Because you know what? That's important to people. People with families want to make sure they're there for their kids these days. You know, it's not like when I was growing up, and you may have had the same thing. You didn't get dropped off by your parents, and they didn't stay at practice, and they didn't go to every game because you know what? They were working. My dad was working from 3 o'clock in the afternoon to 3 o'clock at night. My mom was too busy at home taking care of everything at home because she worked till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. They never saw each other. I had my bike with my paper bag on it going to practices and games. You know what I'm talking about, right? But people want that these days. We're in 2019. We have to accept that. We had to accept that as a company because people want work-life balance. We could say work-life balance, but I'm going to say soccer games. What do you think is going to come up? Let's do it right now. Soccer games. Now here you see videos of people talking about soccer games. Let's see what they're actually saying. They just talked about how the company works around their schedule so they make sure that they're there for their kids' activities. We can go to 401k. See this? Everybody talking about 401k, how the company matches 401ks. That's what we're going to do for you. And you know what? When we showed this to Bob Enright and we showed him the final thing, he actually teared up because you know what? He's got a lot of employees. I think it's close to 400, 425, something like that. And he said, you know what? I knew we had a great company, but I didn't know the emotion people had behind what they're doing and working for us. That's worth its weight in gold. This product is worth just for that alone. But I want to show you one other thing, because you know what? Your current employees are great. But you know what? When you can get your ex-employees, because we all have ex-employees. We have employees that have worked for us for 5, 6, 7 years. You know what? And they did an awesome job, and we hated to lose those people. But they moved on. They went to other things. We had a couple that we found and we got in touch with that came on camera for us. They're doing other things. I had a sales exec. Her name was Erica Eddy. She worked with us for 7 years. Our top sales exec for 4 years in a row. It's hard for me to swallow her leaving, but she went on to pharmaceutical sales because that's what she wanted to do. And we thanked her. And I said, Erica, thank you for your 7 years. You didn't have to spend 7 years with us. You did a phenomenal job. Now, what I'm going to show you is what she said about CGI. So we can click right here on the microphone, pharmaceutical sales. Now, I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to turn down the volume right now. Because you know what? When I showed this to Bob Enright, Bob Bartolotto, they said, that's more powerful than anything you can see on the internet, written text or written words on the internet. And I want you to see this. You're not going to have any volume on here. But can you see the emotion behind what she's saying? Can you see that? Drew, can you see that? That's what this program does for you. It gives you that. It separates you from every other heating and cooling company in Rochester, New York. And that's why I would love for you guys to be part of this program, because you know what? Bob Bartolotto, Bob Enright, myself, program's $30,000. That's what we charge, $2,500 a month. And when I told these guys this, they laughed and they said, you're right. You know what? We do an employee appreciation lunch once a month, last Friday of every month. Costs us about $2,500. I think it's $2,300 to $2,500 when we get better lunches like catered from some of the fancier places. And when we do pizzas, it may only be $1,800. But anyways, that doesn't matter. It's that $2,200, let's say it is. Our employees are going to have lunch. They're going to eat. They're going to talk. They're going to have a good time for an hour. And then what are they going to do? Go back to work and forget about the lunch in about an hour and a half when they digested everything. But when we create this for companies, this is going to be remembered forever. Every single time they go to the website and they see that, and they're going to look for themselves, and they're going to look for their friends, and they're going to refer people over to you. And the last thing I want to show you is an email I got from a potential candidate that applied with our company, where she said, I think ReviewTube does just for your company what you do for municipalities and businesses. It tells a story. When looking for new career opportunities, it is so easy to get lost down the rabbit hole that is Google when trying to see if a company is the right fit. When I started researching CGI, ReviewTube was my last stop. It told me things about the company and the culture beyond the average statistic you only normally get on a company's website. Putting faces to names and seeing their body language light up when elaborating on their time at CGI was special to see. Thank you again for taking the time to speak with me, and I can't wait to continue our conversation. That's going to be one of our next employees, and that's what we can do for you. Now listen, Tom, we have times available because this takes us a little bit to perfect. So we have a couple openings. I have one next Friday at 1 o'clock where we can get the ball rolling to start your production on this thing. Or my next available one is August 5th in the morning at 8 o'clock. I want to get this thing up and going for you just like we did with Bob Enright as quickly as possible. Do you want to take that Friday slot or do you want to wait till August 5th? And cut it. That's it. That's all I got for right now.